everyone, and welcome back to D&D&D&D&D, campaign number 2 of Black Ink and Blue Blood. In the last episode, the party paid a visit to the Brokers, a mysterious organization / cult of information dealers who, after proving their ability to truly know at least all that there is to know about the local region, the party has made a deal with them that in exchange for performing a favor for them, the Brokers will provide a little bit of information that the party may be seeking to each individual member of their choice. The favor in question: to travel deeper into the Underdark, past the Styx of Lower Edict, to where a frozen, deep in the Underdark cave has caused several people living in Edict to disappear. None have returned since a ill-fated mining expedition, from which also none returned, which also simultaneously was what caused the freezing effect somehow. With that, the party headed back into the city, content to get some rest, ready themselves, re-equip themselves, and head towards this mysterious tunnel. But seeing as most of the hotels were closed and those that were open would likely not permit outsiders, the Officer Neon, acting as the party's guide, was forced to take them to the red light district under the control of the Amazons, and specifically the Sweet Honey Hive, the local brothel that can double function as a hotel. The party, easily enough able to acquire rooms, but not before Zephyr and Gil paid a quite hefty premium for an audience with the mysterious Queen Bee, who Zephyr, you have discovered, is a doppelganger who likely uses these abilities to make happy those who can pay her fee. With that, as Lucian, Raccoon, and Caro have the pillow fight of the third age, as Neon and Caleb try to get some actual sleep, and Gil waits excitedly for this Christmas come early.
Oh, God.
Zephyr.
Never mind.
You sit shoulder to shoulder with the Queen Bee, who is currently in the form of a feminine kobold. No one you've ever seen before, but she acknowledges that since you simply lack any romantic interest in really anyone, she has no form she can take for your pleasure, and simply took a form that felt natural. And she does seem interested in whatever deal you're wishing to strike with her, seeming to have taken a bit of a liking to you, seeing as you get the impression you're one of the few people who's ever called her just to talk.
Zephyr will look at her,
Matthew.
then look down, kind of before we start. I would ask that you possibly change forms. Seems as though you could sure what form you want to choose. I'll leave that up to you.
Does this form make you uncomfortable, darling?
It, guess you could say that.
She gives a bit of a smile, seeming like legitimately understanding, and gives a nod. It's not often anyone's ever asked me to take on a form I'm comfortable with. I'm taking a liking to you, Zephyr. And as she stands up, her forms begin to shift again back into the form she had been whenever she first entered the room. A wood elf with swirl-patterned high heels and a dress with a rigid bee-like stripe, a elaborately floral-patterned corset and collar. But her hair remains that kind of deep red color that matches the tone of your skin. And she gives a smile as she lays her hands on her legs and sits back down next to you. And this time doesn't lean on you, and kind of almost leans back actually to kind of look you over as she gives a smile. So, you had something you want to ask me? And she tosses her braid over the behind her shoulder to give you a more unobstructed view of her shoulders and neckline.
Well, in all honesty, this sort of meeting was simply last minute for me either. Well,
I find that these sort of things aren't planned by anyone who partakes in these services, more of either circumstance or desperation.
well, I guess it would be circumstance. But I guess probably first thing I would be curious about is I guess if it's not too intruding, can I could you tell me what exactly are you?
Me. I'm a doppelganger, sweetheart. And you watch as she changes forms again, this time taking the form of a very uh, drab, almost shadow-like shape. Her form is featureless, gray, and has no distinction or life to it. And although you've never seen another doppelganger, at least in their natural form, you definitely get the distinct impression that you probably could not pick her out of a crowd with the way she looks this way. And she gives a smile as her form returns to the previous elven shape. It's not something I'm necessarily proud of, but it has its advantages.
You are not proud of being who you are?
She gives a bit of a shrug and gestures upwards towards the ceiling. Up there where the sun shines, those like me are frowned upon, let's call it. Even before the elves got here, it would have been safer for me to live down here. But I find that uh, whatever small-minded bigotry they would sling at me in my natural form quickly becomes muted by whatever blind pleasure I can provide them.
I could see that. Most people wouldn't be too happy with someone who can easily take their form.
She gives a bit of a smile. Well, not something I chose, but something I accept. And she nods at you. It helps with our blending in that I can turn through your thoughts like reading a book. Normally, it's just to help us maintain the consistency of our disguises. Those sorts of tell me something only they would know kind of questions. Uh, that sort of thing is only in stories. We have ways of getting around that. But that's why you've captured my interest, Zephyr. Not many people I've seen, let alone anyone who visits this place, comes here with. She kind of gives a bit of a grin. I wouldn't necessarily call it pure intent, but wholesome in its own way.
I'm not sure I would go that far. Just
She
me.
she holds up a finger and taps the space between your eyes. Like I said, it's like reading a book, and in this case, even the author doesn't know what's in all of its pages. But I do, Zephyr. And she kind of drags her finger along your neck to rest on the tip of your chin. And so far, I like what I see.
Well, I guess that's. Well, I guess I'll take that as a compliment.
It was. But I'm sorry, I'm distracting you. She gives you a smile and leans back. I know you're the type of person who, if they do see something they want, will happily do whatever they need to do to take it, and rest assured, I have no intention of standing in your way.
Ooh, man. Uh, well, I do appreciate that. I guess while you are here, I don't have very complex questions, but you have a few in mind.
She gives a smile and kind of stretches out, but uses the motion of stretching out to lounge across the bed, which places her torso across your lap as she drapes one arm behind her head and one hand comes to rest on your shoulder. Well, then, by all means.
Ask away.
Uh, well, given your talent and probably the fact your reputation here, I would presume you have encountered some people in power.
She gives a bit of a smile. I know just about everyone down here, and even a few people upstairs who think that I wouldn't remember them.
Oh. And as much as you probably won't know too much about it, but you happen to know anything of this Concord or this faction that seems to be active up, upstairs, or well, up in the surface?
She mulls it over for a second, and you see she makes eye contact with you. And while you don't necessarily feel it, you know what she's capable of enough to know that she's probing your mind for any further information you're not providing. Before she frowns and gives a bit of a shrug as she lounges back across your lap. I'm afraid I've yet to encounter anyone from this organization. Nobody you've seen, at least.
Well, that's at least something. Well, sure, many questions if I could, but I guess there any information you give out about this place that I should know?
You mean my beautiful hotel or the city of Edict itself?
Well, your hotel, well, interesting. Well, it is interesting on its own. Does I presume it's not there's not a lot to it, you know, services that it provides, but
Nothing I think you'd find particularly interesting.
but but yes, the edict is.
And she closes her eyes and mulls over for a second before opening one eye and looking at you with a bit of a smile. There's not too much to it that you don't already know, but I suppose there's a few things that might catch your attention that I could provide. And she closes her eyes again as she recounts, seeming like she's pulling kind of from deep in her head to think before she speaks. I'm sure, yes, you've heard the Foxfire Network being referenced offhandedly, but it appears no one has explained to you exactly what it is.
No, they just simply all we know of it is that it seems to have some magical presence.
Uh, she gives a bit of a nod. It's not exactly magical, but it's easily confused for it. It's something that the elves down here have recently unearthed that they're trying to understand the workings of. Uh, but I won't bore you with the details, and not to insult your intelligence, dear, but it's not something you're used to, and thus it would be quite complex to explain to you. But I will explain to you something that I do think you would find noteworthy. And she gives a bit of a smile and winks at you. You're someone who likes having information, and especially information that might further you to your objective. Not to mention, you seem rather intent on the potential danger this Concord presents to. And she kind of hesitates, and you see her tilt her head and smirk a little bit before simply shrugging. Those you care about. And she lays back again. Nobody here built it. We simply unearthed it and managed to get it working again. And there are parts of it that even we don't know about. And she opens one eye. You do have to ask yourself, where would people that have had no exposure to any of this technology figured out how to get it working, let alone have got it working on the scale you see here? I believe you've been told that at least the city of Edict on its own has not been here for more than a few decades. Uh, she smiles and leans up to you as she gives a grin. There's something in the network. The peacekeepers have been trying to investigate it, but only the higher ups know about it. But like I said, and she kind of runs a hand along your head. Collector, and she kind of scratches along your scalp. And that always intrigued me. That something that they take credit for, they don't understand and are still working on solving all of its mysteries. And from what I've been able to pick up, at least, it frightens them. And she leans back. Sadly, the home of the Foxfire Network is not here, but it is in one of our other cities. Perhaps you could persuade them to let you and your party use the teleporters to access it, although that'd be a bit of a tough sell. But if that lead interests you at all, I could nudge you and your friends in the right direction.
And the where would these teleport?
She counts off on her fingers. Well, there are somewhat multi-purpose. The main place they can take you is to the other cities of the troops of Tradu. There are three in total, alongside Edict. And she pauses in thought for a second before. If I'm recalling correctly, I believe that the Foxfire Network should be in Dolg, although I may be remembering that wrong. I'll take some time to get back to you again if this is something that interests you.
In Doge?
Dolg.
Well, not sure how long we're going to be staying here. We simply are on. We're simply on a mission, and after that, I don't think staying much longer.
She gives a bit of a frown and lays back. I suppose that's understandable. From what I've seen digging around up there, you're in a bit of a hurry, and I can understand that. And she pauses for a moment before smiling again and saying, but for what it's worth, if you and your friends need somewhere to stay, especially if things on the surface get a bit too bright for you to be comfortable. She kind of hesitates for a second before smiling. I can pull some strings to make sure you're allowed back here without question, and you'll always have rooms at the Sweet Honey Hive.
Yeah, you are correct. Up there can get a bit bright, but down here seems to me seems darker. Included, but I do appreciate the offer, and who knows, maybe one of these days I will I will take you up on it.
I hope so, darling. I appreciate someone who's.
Oh,
They're just having some computer trouble, but they said to keep going, so. Um, she gives a smile. I appreciate someone who's straightforward, knows what they want, and she tilts her head at you again, and she uses that word that makes you a little unsure. Wholesome.
I'm not sure of that. Again, I do appreciate the information that you've given me. I will see of what use I can make.
I'm only sorry I couldn't provide more. And she lays a hand on her shoulder and gives a smile. I'll tell you what, I'm both so as to not impugn either of our honors with an unfair deal, and she gives a smirk, because I know you fairly well, I think. She leans back, now not laying directly across your lap, but draping her legs across it. I know you're on the lookout for any potential artifacts or, well, down here, the term magic item isn't necessarily the term I'd use, but anything that might be of use to you or your party to pursue your goals. And you get the feeling that she already knows what she's referring to, but is omitting it for your benefit as she gives a smile. If that is indeed something you're on the lookout for, powerful weapons and items that can provide you some use along your journey, I may be able to point you in the right direction.
Well, power isn't exactly my main objective, but it does come in handy when put into a tough situation.
If there's
I
anything I've learned from interacting with the people down here, it's that power is not an objective, it is merely a tool. But you're a man who knows how to use tools to his advantage.
try my best.
She gives a smile. If you're looking for powerful or potentially useful items, go see Mother. She's a bit of a collector and uh, fancies herself the well connected and well to do person who can provide anyone with anything they might ask for. The brokers may have all the information in the Underdark, but that pales in comparison to wealth and power, doesn't it?
Depends on the information at hand, but
I suppose that's fair enough. But Mother can be a bit argumentative at the best of times. So, if you simply want the items with less of the fuss, it may not be as high quality, but I've heard along the underground rumor mill that the Reapers recently managed to secure one of Mother's shipments. And she looks at you again before nodding. You'll be passing through their territory on the way, and it's unlikely that they'll let you pass through without at least being questioned. So, if you're on the lookout and feel like you can handle doing a small favor or paying a small fee, you could probably negotiate to see their boss, especially if you tell them that I sent you.
uh, 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 okay. I will. I will see this. I will see these people. See if I can obtain a tool of my own.
She gives a bit of a smile. Well, you already have several, but a few more could never hurt. Whenever the Reapers stop you, tell them that the Valkyrie sent you.
All right.
She gives a smile and runs a hand along your head and kind of stops when her hand is like about to reach the back of your head as she smiles and tilts her head at you. Is there anything else?
Mm. As of right now, I have nothing that I can think of, and as someone of your stature, you probably are a busy person to establishment of this. So shouldn't
Hmm.
take too much of your time, and you've done me quite a bit of service of information. I appreciate that.
I do everything I can, dear. She gives a nod and smiles. Well, as long as you're sure that this is fair. And she finally takes her legs off of your lap and stands up to kind of dust off her dress and turns her head over her shoulder, kind of swaying her hips as she walks. Speaking of tools that are in your employ, she gives a bit of a grin. I didn't realize it until I got to see one of you directly, but I have another customer tonight that happens to be one of your tools.
Damn.
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 Wow.
Damn.
Oh.
I mean, Gil is kind of a tool.
Well, she's more continuing
Blind.
this metaphor of Zephyr, like using the people around it, but it also is deeply funny, and she knows it. She gives a bit of a smirk and a shrug. Searching through your memories, he doesn't sound like someone I can't handle, but I figured I would ask your opinion. Do you think Mr. Vary is someone I should be concerned about?
If it is who you're talking about, he is a headstrong person, but as far as I can tell, you have nothing to worry about.
She gives a bit of a smirk. I figured as much, but it never hurts to ask. I think you know as well as I do that you don't make it very far in life without asking questions, even if you think you already know the answers.
It's always good to be sure.
She gives a bit of a smirk. Indeed it is. Enjoy the penthouse, Zephyr. And she kind of hesitates for a second before looking back to you. And you get the impression she's still kind of like probing around a bit before finally, sure enough, she speaks up. That gem was beautiful.
Well, it was my. I will be honest. It was one of my lesser, finer gems, but I was willing to part with it.
As long as you're certain. That's part of what intrigued me as much as you did. You know how to treat a lady, and I respect it.
Yeah, with expensive jewelry, apparently.
Wasn't it like a raw gem though?
Which is still like pretty good.
Yeah, I gave him the raw one,
and
not the cut
to be
one.
fair, let's actually consider this from her perspective. She runs a brothel. Someone paid with a jewel to see her, and all they wanted was to talk. And he was even cool with not getting anything. He just wanted to meet her. Like, you gotta admit, Zephyr made a pretty good impression.
Apparently Zephyr is a ladies' kobold.
Arrow writes. She gives a smile and says, as I said, enjoy the penthouse and just pass word along if you ever want to talk again. I wouldn't want to part you with too much more of your jewelry, and I know you don't care for the currency down here, so I don't want to complicate matters for you too much.
I appreciate that. And who knows, maybe in the future I will acquire more gems and maybe even refine them myself and ask for your service again.
I hope so. I'll see you around, Zephyr. Enjoy your night.
I will try.
I fucking love this lady.
She gives a smile and
You watch lady of the night.
I love her.
Well, this quote unquote lady man thing. It's just
doppelgangers are genderless. She just prefers being in female form.
Identify. She identifies as a woman, Matthew.
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. There's nothing weird about that. She gives a grin and finally shuts the door behind her, leaving you alone in the penthouse.
Time to go to bed.
All right. I know Raccoon is not here, but Lucian, you said you had something you at least wanted to do with Caro as well, so you may do that while the Queen Bee is on her
Raccoon.
way.
Okay. So after the pillow fight, before I get into my nightly prayers, Carol, could I talk to you for a few minutes, please?
Yes, of course.
Lucian sits down and kind of looks genuinely concerned. I know that Zephyr did you a favor today, and I know that it was really important for you to find out what happened to your missing party, but I have some concerns. I have not known Zephyr for a very long time, but I know his type.
She's known the longest of most of this group, other than Gil.
She kind of fidgets with her fingers a little bit and takes a deep breath. I don't think that he is the kind of creature to do something without wanting something in return. And I am not saying that not to do something for him because he did something for you, because yes, it is a fair exchange, but and I know that you would probably do something just out of the goodness of your heart, but I do not think that Zephyr would. He does not strike me as the kind of creature that would. He is clever in his own rights, and he is cunning. Just because he helped you now doesn't mean later on he will not hesitate to use you or betray you like he has betrayed us. And I just want you to be careful, okay?
Yes, do not worry about me. I am a big frog. I can take care of myself.
Yes, I know, but you know, I like you, Carol. You are a kind-hearted creature, so much more different than Zephyr, and you are very smart and you are very talented with a bow. I just and she kind of like picks at her finger a little bit and sighs. I just really don't want to see you get hurt because he will use you to his own ends, like he has used us. I do not know why he sticks around with us. He must have a reason. I often wonder what that reason is and if it's a good reason or if it's selfish. Because all the time I've known him, he was selfish.
Well, I'm sure the reason is good if he hasn't left yet.
I'm not so sure. I mean, I'm just a simple elf, you know. I I I study and I read and I try to make myself more full of knowledge, you know, because that's what I like. That's what I know. And this is new to me, friends and people betraying you. I mean, I'm used to that. That's a long time coming for me. but I don't want to see it to you, you know?
I know. And do not worry. I will not let him betray me.
Well, it's not a matter of letting him betray you, because, I mean, now I see that we should not have ever trusted him or the other Tibetans. Caleb is the only Tibetan that I have yet to know. Well, Caleb and Salmer, that I know of, have not lied or cheated or betrayed. That I know of, at least. And I don't know. This is very difficult for me, Kara. I am sorry.
It's okay. Do not worry.
That's all I do lately is worry.
It's not good for you. You'll get bags under your eyes.
I probably already have them.
Not yet.
Caro, she kind of gives a chuckle to Caro. Just promise me that, you know, when the time comes, I know that Zephyr will check into that good heart of yours. And just be careful, okay? Because I care about you.
Don't worry, Carol's always careful. Right, Carol?
Garrow kind of gives a big yawn and lays their head on their paws.
I kind of give Garrow a little bit of a scratch on the head. When we get to Wicket, I want you to meet my cats.
Yes, yes.
And Garrow kind of nestles into the scratches, seeming to be enjoying themselves. Overall, enjoying the, like, not quite full luxury, but bordering on luxury accommodations.
I get in there. I use my nails. I get in there. I'm full on cat lady.
Garrow just rolls and lays on their back, kind of pawing in the air and making biscuits as Lucian, you give this tiger the full attention a small kitten deserves. Caro, you kind of watch and consider what Lucian just told you, and Raccoon, just making a little nest for themselves on the in the center of the bed, curls up for some sleep. And finally, if there's nothing else from the three of you, that brings us to Gil.
Oh boy.
Gil,
we're gonna get copyright.
Gil, it's getting fairly late, and yeah, and it's not like past the scheduled time. Just you knew it was going to be a bit late, but luckily you don't have to sleep as much as a person does, so you can handle staying up pretty late. And it's getting fairly close now, after a few hours of you being by yourself, to the time you were told the Queen Bee would arrive. So with that, what would you like to do as it gets close to her arrival?
Well, also, I'm just going to be pacing around the room, like, not sure what's exactly going to happen. Like, I have a vague idea, hopefully, of what they're going to look like, but he's just like, he's actually pretty scared.
Finally, after about an hour of waiting by this point, you finally hear at the door, a very light, gentle knock. your visitor seems to have arrived.
I will go to the door and open it.
As you open the door, you see the same figure that Zephyr had seen, a wood elf woman with beautifully patterned clothes, carrying herself with ultimate poise and confidence. But what catches your attention, surprisingly, is her hair, as you immediately direct your attention upwards to see if they had indeed sent someone who fit your unique specifications. And the sight you see surprises you. Her hair is not red, at least fully. Her hair is almost has a kind of Neapolitan ice cream look to it, of red, black, and white, in swirling stripes running down her hair. That is currently
Got it.
that is currently braided and slung over her shoulder. And before you can even say anything, she puts a finger to your lips to keep you quiet and gives a smile. Hold on a second, darling. Let me get a read on this. And you watch as her face and body begins to reform. However, as you see even her brow kind of furrow and kind of almost looks confused. And as you kind of step back, you see standing before you, looking down at herself almost as if she herself is confused by it, a woman you've never seen before, dressed in the Gyogran military uniform, but with vials of alchemical components slung over her chest. Her hair still in that incredibly strange trifecta of colors that swirl and taper off and dies at the end. Her face completely foreign to you, although you occasionally, if you kind of like squint, can like see little snippets. You do see the gothic makeup of someone akin to Delilah, but with the same eye color as Lucian, and the kind of facial construction of Summer. And as you look over her, it seems like she's basically combined the various women you've been interested in throughout your life. And she herself seems confused by this as she looks herself over and gives a bit of a smirk as she looks back at you. Well, don't you know how to treat a lady? And she gestures for you to step out of the way so she can enter the room.
Sorry, very surprise.
So am I, dear. This is not what I expected. And as she steps past you and kind of looks over your room, as you shut the door, she kind of tilts her head, still not looking at you at the moment, as she says, "You're someone who doesn't really know what they want, aren't you?"
I always consider myself simple-minded, but yeah, not really sure, I guess.
She finally turns to look at you as she kind of gives a smirk and the roll of the eyes as she leans to sit on the edge of your bed, much like she had done with Zephyr, although you don't know about that, and crosses her legs as she gives a smirk and leans on one of the bedposts. You dance with one woman, make your advances on another, arrange a date with a third, and then order a prostitute the following night. You're an adventurous man, Mr. Vary.
Yeah, well, gotta live life, of course.
Dirty bird.
She gives a bit of a smile. I get these sort of requests pretty frequently, I didn't think that this would be such complicated an endeavor. And she finally looks at you directly again, and you can see her form still like shifting, and you watch as her hair almost seems to shimmer and create this sort of like kaleidoscopic effect between the red, black, and white, as she smiles again. Even now, you're unsure. You see some things you like, and that seems to be your preference. And you watch as the
like
eye
hair.
makeup, you watch as the eye makeup actually vanishes from her face to be replaced with the kind of, simple, like, natural beauty of someone akin to Lucian or Summer, who typically don't doll themselves up. She gives a smile and says, "Well, as unique of an encounter this has been so far, I don't think you are as wholesome as some of your friends, and you'd rather skip the niceties and get straight to business, yes?"
I'm not sure.
Oh?
She gives a wide smile and steeples her fingers a bit as she leans back against the bedpost. Now things are getting interesting.
Well, I do like to get to know the people to a degree
Oh,
before
really?
anything like that.
You watch as her form changes to be a perfect replica of Delilah as she signs out. How much do you know about me?
That's why I asked you asked her out on a date. I
She
phrased it badly, but that was my opinion.
She gives a bit of a smirk and signs out. I think you misunderstood the intent behind the phrase "take me to dinner" first.
Yeah,
I love her so much.
You misinterpreted what that means.
I never claimed to be smart.
She raises an eyebrow and takes your form as
Hold up, I got a one-liner for that. Now I know that he loves himself, but I don't know if he goes that far.
well, let's find out. You watch as she takes your form, still leaning back casually against the bedpost with their legs crossed, as they give a smile and say, "I was under the impression that you thought of yourself as one of the smartest people in the room. I mean, you're always making attempts to outfox people."
Yeah, and if you've been inside my head like I'm guessing, you see how well that turns out.
You finally her form gives way back to the kind of middle ground form and gives a bit of a smirk. And here we are. There's a bit of a pause before finally she raises an eyebrow. "But I didn't just come here to insult you. I'll admit, this is a bit of a first for both of us."
Oh, how so for you?
She gives a bit of a smirk. "You and your friends are complicated. Some of you that everyone thinks to be villainous antagonists are very complex and sweet people when given the chance to shine. Some people who seem to to think they know everything in the world don't know the first thing about themselves. And her eyes kind of rove around the room, and you see her features continue. It's almost like as her eyes move, the colors of her hair kind of swirl along, creating this very like holographic effect to it almost as her eyes finally get back to you. "Just about everyone has something to hide, and I like to think I'm good at getting to the bottom of it. You hear things when people think you're not listening."
Well, that's the best time.
She gives a smile and leans her head back and says, "Well, you have made arrangements for one date and made advances on two other women. I see no reason for you to pay such a hefty fee to see me on top of all of them." And she kind of squints and looks you over. "Unpleasant as it may be, there's a fourth, even before I arrived."
Oh,
She gives a smirk and takes a form that I will not describe, but Gil, you know it very painfully well.
Oh boy. You saw that one too, huh?
Her form changes back. I see everything. I've always said that people's minds are a lot like books, where even the author doesn't know what's on every page.
Yeah, just wish some books could be erased.
She gives a bit of a smirk and raises her eyebrows. Really? Because you're under the impression that parts of yours may already have been been dead for over a decade.
Well, I have no proof, but something's going on.
Indeed it is. Your friends already updated me. Things are getting very interesting for the troops of Tredo. It's been a long time since we've involved ourselves in the events of the surface, and it seems now the events of the surface are coming down to us.
Yeah, funny how you can't avoid stuff.
No matter how far down you go, and she looks you very intently in the eyes, or how far you run.
Maybe so. Doesn't mean you don't stop trying.
She gives a bit of a smirk and leans her head back. Believe me, I've had plenty of customers who think that they come in here knowing exactly what they want from me, only for them to be, even if it's just for a night, running away from whatever troubles be ailing them. And I think you're just the latest in that line. She gives a bit of a smirk and says, "How many times since you met these people have you fallen in love?"
I'm not sure if I even know what that means.
She gives a smile again. You used to have castles and lead armies, and here you are, traveling with people that you're so instinctually convinced are below you that you can't consider just for a moment that, do you know how to live in a world where everything you want isn't handed to you, and whatever can't be handed to you, you simply take?
I'm not sure, but I am interested in trying to learn.
She gives a smile, and this time not the kind of mischievous one, but a fairly genuine one. She says, if only it were that easy. But she hesitates and says, I suppose it's not really fair to say that I can't read your mind, but if you just want my advice on the matter. And she pauses and says, it may pay dividends to occasionally take a bit of a coffee break from talking and try listening.
Learning life lessons.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have a good point. And
But
I
it's not
will
the
do
first time
I'll
you've
do
heard
that.
it.
Oh, that's true. Like, one of my party members tells me that all the time.
Lucy and Alephakir, part of the reason you paid to see me.
Yeah, can't hide anything from you.
You can't, although the effort is admirable. She gives a smirk as she leans back. I've seen too many people who think they're the best at hiding things, but I don't need to read minds to know as much as I do, but it certainly sets me in the right direction. And she pauses for a minute and says, be honest with me. Do you actually intend to enjoy the primary service I provide in this building, or, and she glances at you, or would you be more interested in me providing you a more indirect favor?
I've had a lot of time to think since I've come into this room. As you already said when you came in, most of it wasn't very. What's the word I'm looking for?
She
I can't think of the word.
she leans back and You gather from her expression that she does
Pure.
know, but is giving you the chance to say it first. And
Like it's not exactly pure thoughts.
she gives a smile and says, "Like I said, you're a man who's used to getting what he wants pretty quickly, and this is the first time you've actually had to work for it. I think even you've been surprised lately by the realization of just how little you actually saw the battlefield for a colonel. Simply sitting in your castle behind your desk and telling other people to go where you wanted them to go and get what you wanted them to get."
Yeah, that's what I'm realizing.
Well, you know what they say about rose-tinted glasses.
It all looks good from the one side.
Uh, she gives a nod. And all the red flags simply look like flags.
Yep.
She
I think I would take not your usual, but what was the second offer?
She gives a bit of a smile and says, "I have not needed to pursue romance for obvious reasons," and she gestures to just herself, "in a very long time, but I didn't get where I am just through the reading of minds and appealing to disgusting people's preferences."
Eh, sorry.
She waves a hand. "That's not important. What I am implying is I may be able to push you in the right direction." She taps her head and says, "Like I said, everyone has something to hide, and I take the time to read a few books whenever I can." But she gives you a wink, and you get the impression she's not referring to books in the traditional sense.
Hmm. And how might I be able to use this or like better myself?
She smiles and leans back. "You will have the rest of the night to consider what it is you actually want. I will personally escort you and your party, at least to the edge of town. I'm not personally allowed to visit Reaper territory. It would look bad, you understand. But, and I don't want to attract any undue attention to you, but like I said, I will personally escort you, and that'll be all the time I need to dig around in the minds of your friends. And I can tell you whether, if you decide that that is what you want." And you see her hair, the shimmering stops and almost kind of glows over to stay a solid red. "I can tell you if it is an interest worth pursuing and perhaps how to go about it."
Hmm. He thinks about it, but he's going to slowly shake his head and say, as appealing as that would be, I am trying to, even though I may not know what I want, I would like to better myself, and using that may not be the best way to go about my new personal goal.
She gives a bit of a smirk. "That's the right answer. You're already making steps. The important thing is to just remember them and make sure you follow that path more consistently." She leans back and her hair returns to the kind of shimmering changing of colors. "But I do think it's important to note," and she gives a full toothed, almost kind of wicked looking smile that you can tell is definitely the physique of summer shining through as she holds up a finger. "I do think you should know that I consider all of the beautiful maidens who pass through my territory to be under my personal protection, and I will be the first to know if you make any advances that are unwelcome. And rest assured, my pull may not be as universal as some, but it is strong. And she hesitates and gives a grin. Among the many things I'm used to pulling, one of them is strings.
Mm,
My God, I love her.
Damn.
I love her so
understood.
much.
She gives a smile. Very well.
She'll
Rest
grab.
assured,
She can grab them by the balls, both literally and figuratively.
she gives a smile and lays back in the bed. But for what it's worth, from what I've seen in your mind, you're more of a misguided person who's unsure about their desires than you are someone who would truly make any unwelcome advances. Although, if you're interested in improving your standing, I don't need to read her mind to know that give her the space and let her approach you if that's something she wants to do.
I appreciate the advice.
You can see as she's laying back, she smiles. Well, we all need it from time to time. It's not like I would have to pay advisors if I thought I knew everything already.
Yeah. Well, I'm starting to learn that I don't know very much at all.
She kind of pulls herself back up and looks at you. That actually reminds me of something interesting I heard from someone who came through here. They say that the smartest man in the room is the one who understands that he doesn't know as much as the other people. Or something to that effect, anyway.
Hmm.
She smiles and stands up. To put it more simply, I suppose, the first step to stupidity is thinking that you already know everything.
Eh. Makes sense.
I wonder who else thinks they know everything.
That's what I was like, man. Not even intentional, but it was a jab at Lucy.
Yeah, it's very fun playing a character who can read minds because she doesn't need to know your characters for very long to start making jabs like that.
I
Lucy
know.
looks into the camera like it's The Office.
Yeah. Somewhere else in the hotel, Lucian's just, I feel both very right, but also deeply insulted.
Yeah.
Voice that time.
The queen bee smiles at you, Gil, and says, for what it's worth, I am happy I could help. And before you get yourself into any further trouble, especially given that you're traveling with a peacekeeper, may I suggest the next time you have yourself in need of money, whether that be credits or the shiny metal you use on the surface, just ask.
Finally, somebody told him.
Finally!
He's been waiting for this chance for
Oh my
so
God!
many seconds.
Is that how it works? I thought you had to earn it.
She gives a bit of a shrug. If someone chooses to give it to you, then you've already earned it by being someone who deserves it.
Oh, damn.
Ooh.
I would definitely keep that in mind.
Please do.
And he's like really in thought on this, so trying to like piece this together. Like, he has to be doing everything wrong.
Please do keep it in mind, because if nothing else, it would very much hurt my feelings if you were to rob the bank, as I may or may not have a few strings there already, and it would make things very inconvenient for me if I found myself in need of emergency credits.
Oh no, of course not. Robbing a bank here is suicide.
She gives a bit of a smirk. Believe me, it's much better to talk your way out than fight your way out. The peacekeepers may seem like incompetent, corrupt buffoons, but they're powerful, inept, corrupt buffoons.
Funny how that goes hand in hand.
Indeed, but let's see if you can be the one to break that cycle, Colonel.
I will definitely try.
She gives a smile. That's all we can ask of anyone. You and your friends are interesting. I we'll see if my schedule is clear enough to provide you that escort either way. I wouldn't want something so interesting to be damaged on the way out of my territory.
Sounds fun to me.
She gives a bit of a shrug. Well, we'll have to see how it goes. And don't worry, I've already pulled a few strings to make sure that the trip beyond my territory is as safe as I can reasonably make it. But what happens to you down there in the icy caves is your problem, not mine.
Yeah. I just call that fun and entertainment.
She gives you a smile. Well, then let's see if you can survive that fun and entertainment to get back to me.
Yeah, I will.
You and your friends will always be welcome in the Sweet Honey Hive, should you have need of my services, or simply a place to lay low from the peacekeepers. But in the meanwhile, I would try to refrain from talking too much about our meeting. The politics down here tend to get a little bit complicated, and you've seen what the broker's temper can be like when they're made upset.
Yeah, small fuse, that one.
She gives a bit of a shrug. When you have all that space taken up by the resources and information, it's understandable there's not a lot of space for the wick.
Yeah, true.
She gives a smile. Well, if you have no further need of my services, then I'll be going for the time being. I have other less interesting customers to attend to.
Well, I have enjoyed my time, and I think it was a time well purchased.
She
And
gives a smile.
he will actually open the door for her, being polite as he can.
Oh, look at you. You're learning already. And she kind of leans in as she passes you. Just try to make it consistent. And she kind of places a hand on your neck before dragging it down to just below your ribs. Try to keep your expectations lower. She gives a bit of a smirk. That's not a fair expectation to put on anyone, let alone someone who has a lot on their plate as it is. And at least if your opinion of yourself is as accurate as you think it is, then that's a lot to have on their plate along with everything else. You understand? And she gives a bit of a smirk and kind of wriggles her eyebrows a little bit.
I think I understand.
She gives a smile. Yeah, as do I. And you kind of get that like slightly unnerved feeling of just knowing how easily she's flipping through your mind before she starts to walk out. Have a nice night, and I'll see you in the morning, Lee.
Oh, you forgot about that, didn't you?
Yeah. No,
Wow.
I didn't forget.
I did.
You forgot about your own name change.
Yeah. I haven't used it yet.
You have it even on your Discord.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
The only time I used it was once with Summer.
Yeah, well.
Poor Summer.
Oh my god, it literally is on his Discord.
Yeah. I remembered it.
With that,
And he'll then say good night as well.
and with that,
With
she
that, like,
starts
open
walking out.
mouth.
You go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, he's like that shocked, open mouth look as he says, yeah, have a good night. And he'll shut the door.
The last thing you see is her winking and clicking her tongue at you before the door
Well,
shuts. And
she'll escort us, all right.
I love her.
and you can hear her high heels clicking down the hall as she resumes her normal form, or at least the form she's most comfortable with, leaving you alone in your hotel room.
Gil's just going to sit down on the bed, and he's got a lot of thinking to do.
How you guys liking the queen bee?
I fucking love her.
She's great.
He's not what I expected.
Definitely lives up to the name Queen.
Seriously.
She is not what I expected at all. And the form wasn't what I expected either. It was close, but not quite.
It was close. It was close, not quite Lucian.
Well, no, it's like I expected like some combo. Just because like I like to expect the unexpected, but it was like wow.
All right. So, Gil, you spend a lot of time deep in thought before sleep takes you. The rest of you, with your various interpersonal conversations, or simply like recovering from the events of the previous few days, uh, the Sweet Honey Hive is a safe and surprisingly relaxing place to sleep, as somewhat pricey as it is.
What are these rooms like, by the way?
Like I said, they're fairly similar to the arrangements you had in with the summer ball, albeit the rooms are not two-story like the nobility's rooms were. A soft carpeted, in your case, since that's more prevalent to you, and I'm guessing the others already remember theirs. A simple but comfortable. Large carpeted room with a fairly large two-person bed.
Caleb already went to sleep.
Yeah, so it's got all the bells and whistles, so you guys can clean yourselves up and sleep comfortably with that. One by one.
Yeah, Caleb will probably need to take enough. We'll probably take advantage of having easy access to cleaning again.
Definitely.
Just as long as he has access
I don't
to
mean
it,
keep to do that in the top.
because he knows at some point he's not going to have access to it anymore.
Yeah, like I said, you have access to it, and it basically, you guys are getting a long rest, of course. It's safe to assume that since you have access, you can do your cleanings and sleepings and any morning ritual.
Caleb will just do it in the morning. He already went to bed.
So you guys, like I said, got a long rest. So anyone who can change their spells around and feels the desire to can. You guys heal up, get your energy and abilities
I
back.
don't have no spells, so.
Yeah, you're not arcane.
Well, yeah, it's just Lucy.
Imagine needing spells to get things done. This is
I'll fix
supposed
everything. I'm good.
And what's up? All right,
Imagine needing spells to get things done. This is a message from the non-spellcaster.
Yeah, the martial classes.
Martial class gang.
Yeah, martial class gang. And what were you gonna say, Lucian?
Oh, I was saying I already did all that, so I'm good.
Okay, so with that, you guys wake up, and surprisingly, it's like fairly into the morning whenever you all get knocks on the door. The different elvish women, but wearing the same flattering uniform, arrive to escort you downstairs. And all of you are given the same message as these women arrive to collect all of you and guide you to the lobby. The queen bee is waiting for you.
On the way down, I'd be like, "Hey, is there any coffee?"
The woman.
Again, Caleb did all his cleaning in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, don't worry. Like I said, long rest. You can easily do all that. And Lucian, the woman who arrives to escort you, Caro and Raccoon, downstairs, kind of looks over her shoulder at you and gives a bit of a smile. We don't necessarily serve it here, but there's places in the area that you could get some from.
Is it normal to, like, crave it?
She kind of narrows her eyes a bit and says, "You may want to stay off of the stuff for a while." She kind of gives a bit of a smile. "I haven't known you for a very long time, but I can already tell you probably should stay away from even the most remotely addictive of substances."
I've tried. It's like pulling teeth.
She kind of scratches the back of her head and says, "Well, suppose it's not really my problem. Just friendly advice."
Yeah, and when they come to get Gil, he's going to actually not like he's going to be like very well mannered. He's not looking at anything in particular. He's just
He's gonna be
eyes straight ahead.
transformed into a gentleman.
Yeah, you're a mental gen now.
Yeah.
Religion?
Mental gen. All right. With that, does anyone have anything in particular they want to do on the way down, or are you guys content to simply
Let's get going.
all right?
I am good. My penthouse. Good.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I was just checking something real quick. So, you all one by one are grabbed from your rooms and escorted down before finally you re-enter into the lavishly decorated lobby area, where you see the same elvish woman working the counter, but this time see someone new making friendly conversation with her before holding up a hand as all of you enter. Again, those of you who have not seen her yet see the same wood elf woman, the same lavish and well-kept outfit, although Gil and Zephyr, who have seen her in this outfit twice now and have seen her incorporating clothes into her form, can deem that this is more a part of her physiology than it is actual clothing, hence it being the same outfit.
Very interesting.
And she gives a smile as you all approach and gives a bow to those that she has not met yet. It's nice to meet all of you. I am the Queen Bee, the owner of this lovely establishment, and after the service I was able to provide last night, I thought it would be the polite thing to do to see you all safely escorted out of my territory. Don't worry, we'll keep it subtle.
That is very kind of you. And I kind of give a slight bow to her.
She gives a smile. And it was very kind of you all to make such generous contributions to my business and to be such gentlemen with your services to me.
Lucian's eyebrows raise a little bit.
She gives a smile and looks to Zephyr and Gil with a wink. Give me just a moment to make myself decent. And with that, those of you who haven't seen it yet finally get to see in person as her form shifts. You watch as her form kind of bends and contorts a bit, becoming much shorter, developing a slight slouch. You see she kind of puts her weight awkwardly on one of her legs before finally, as the transformation settles, you see she has taken the form of a short, kind of awkwardly postured, dark-haired light elf woman wearing a very flattering tuxedo, but otherwise any indication of the power and wealth she carries herself with completely gone, as she looks up and dusts herself off and gives a smile. As I said, I thought it would be more appropriate to ensure that you are not seen with someone of my societal position.
Very impressive.
So
She
you can change forms and look like different people.
Yeah, you just see what else she can do.
she gives a nod to you, Caleb, and as Gil speaks up, she winks.
Lucian's eyes goes from like her to him, and then just goes,
She's very intelligent. She'll give you a run for your money,
Is
Lucian.
it based on people that you've seen somehow?
she seems intelligent.
Or can you just look like anything you decide to look like?
She looks at you, Caleb, and tilts her head to the side before closing her eyes, and her forms begin to shift again. And this time she takes a form none of you have seen before, but Caleb is very familiar to you. All of you see a somewhat shabbily dressed, almost like a very, very dark, almost maroon red mop of hair with very dark glasses over the eyes and a cane in one hand, and slightly on the paler side, but having that kind of farmer's tan look as she smiles and leans on the cane. I can look like just about anyone, as long as I have access to the people I want to make happy.
Caleb doesn't say anything, seeing this form.
Lucian puts her hands in her pockets and just looks very impressed. Doesn't say anything though.
She glances in this form, glances to you, Lucian, and her form shifts again to take your form now. And she kind of like adjusts
Yeah,
herself
that
a
sounds
bit,
about right for her.
adjusts herself a bit to perfectly mimic your posture before saying, "See, now we are triplets."
Lucian's face is just red, and she's just like, "Nope, did not need to see that."
She gives a wide smile and returns to the kind of awkwardly postured elvish form as she's still kind of laughing a bit. But
Neat
yes,
party trick though.
oh, I like to think it's a bit more than a party trick, but it certainly gets its use at parties, especially whenever people decide to actually get creative. Believe me, you have no idea how tired I am of getting the, oh, there's this one coworker I'm too shy to talk to requests.
I believe it. Kind of glance at Gil.
She smirks and she kind of waves. Well, if you all are done here, follow me. And as she passes you, Lucian, her form kind of contorts slightly to be a perfect imitation of Gil, who winks at you before her form shrinks again to re-enter the hunched, hunched elvish form again.
Lucian's nose scrunches up, but her ears are red.
I don't know how to interpret this.
Exactly.
She arrives at the door before it's spinning on her heel. Well, are you all coming?
Yes, ma'am.
Yep, several follow along.
I will follow.
Now, quick
I'm
question.
following the
because
group.
Is it like one of those spinning doors, or is it one that can actually be opened out?
It's like a set of double doors.
Okay, Gil quickly rush ahead to open the door for everyone.
She almost as if expecting it stops a bit away from like ahead of the door and leans as you rush past her to do so. And Lucian, as you catch up with her, she turns and gives you a wink. You'll see, even the most disobedient of dogs can be trained.
Damn.
Okay.
I'm sure with this one she kind of leans back to her. I'm sure with this one it was not very that hard. Low intelligence does that.
She gives a bit of a smirk. Oh, you'd be surprised.
No, and
She gives a smile. That's so. An interesting proposition in its own sort of way. Come on, everyone. Let's get moving. We're burning, well, not daylight, but we're burning rock ceiling. Come on.
I kind of cross my arms across my chest as I walk.
Can you smell what the rock ceiling is cooking? Nobody gets that but me.
No, I get it.
As I pass Gil, I just kind of glare at him for a second and then move on.
All right. Gil, you hold the door open for the party before exiting yourself, leaving you all on the streets, which are not fully deserted, but much quieter. While you get the impression most of the businesses are still in operation, the nightlife of the city is definitely where it's at its highest demand. So it's not completely isolated or private, but you have a lot of the streets and roadways to yourselves as she leads you down the sidewalk away from the Sweet Honey Hive. All right, does anyone have any errands to run? Because I'm not turning it around. This form cannot walk very long distances.
I could do with some coffee, but other than that, I'm good.
She glances back to you and looks you up and down and says, you've already been told, but you should stay away from that stuff. Not to say it's inherently dangerous, it's just dangerous for you.
Lucy gives a shrug.
True.
Gil's gonna chuckle at that.
I'm not saying that it is not dangerous for myself, and I'm not acknowledging that. I simply said that I was craving it.
Well, I would like you to consider the implications of craving something that you can only get down here.
I know the implications.
She gives a smirk as she looks over her shoulder. You do now.
She says nothing.
She gives a smirk and glances to you, Gil, with a wink before turning to continue walking. So we got a bit of a walk. So what brings all of you to, I would love to say my city, but I can't say it with complete honesty. Have a lot of competition, but what brings you to the city which I hold a sizable claim to?
We came down here by complete accident.
And curiosity. Mostly accident.
She gives a slow nod. Well, I suppose that's the best way you're going to find a city that goes out of its way to stay hidden.
Didn't you read their minds or something?
She stops and glances.
He's like, I figured that's the only way you could have known about my friend.
She stops and glances over her shoulder and looks you over, Caleb. I suppose it makes sense you'd be observant. And she glances to Zephyr before looking back to you. Yes, I already knew how you got here, including what you neglected to tell me, but I figured it was more polite to ask you than to simply go off of what I already knew.
What did we neglect to tell her?
The fact that you can say you got here by accident all you want, but you did go out of your way to solve the puzzle, go out of your way to go further down despite everything.
We were just solving a puzzle. We didn't intend to find a lost city.
It was an accident.
We weren't trying to find a lost city. We were trying to solve a puzzle.
Well,
Yeah.
As I said, curiosity.
Ooh, puzzle.
Yeah.
a little bit of both, you know.
But I mean, we did go out of our way to go down here, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's more what she means.
Yeah, that's why I said curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Curiosity killed the cat.
Lucian kind of dips down to Caro and just like, it's really not that hard of a deduction to make.
Carol just kind of looks up to Lucian and just, are you okay?
I'm fine.
Okay.
This is something that I've started doing in my Friday game, and they're pretty fond of it, so I'm going to start doing it here as well, as occasionally giving you guys out of character little glimpses of things that you don't know in character, just both for immersion and because it's just a fun little details. None of you can see it, but her smirk just continues to widen as she starts walking again, turning away from Caleb.
I don't get it.
She's deliberately getting on Lucian's nerves by poking fun at the fact that as a doppelganger who can read minds, she is guaranteed to know more at any given time than Lucian does.
Oh,
And Lucian knows it though.
Yeah.
Lucian's mad about it.
She also doesn't like that that the queen bee was implying that she was not intelligent. She was not appreciative of that implication.
I know. If only like Lucian knew what we talked about last night.
Oh boy.
So, if nobody else has anything, she leads you all down the streets, across the roadways, before finally arriving just about to the edge of where you guys had gone to meet with the brokers. and gestures towards the very distant, past the docks and across the kind of barren wastes of the Underdark to the distant lights of the settlements out in the sticks of Edict, and says, "This is as far as I can take you. Any further, and the brokers will be upset with me for putting my heels where they're not supposed to be."
And we all know that they have their ways of knowing.
Well,
She gives,
well, yeah, of course they
Have you
do.
never asked the brokers for anything?
"Oh, I've asked them for plenty. All of us down here have a understanding of trying to work with each other as much as we can. Although that may be changing soon. Things are starting to get..." And she pauses before saying, "Interesting." But
Competitive?
she gives a bit of a nod. "That is another word for it. But we'll have to see how far it escalates before calming down. It's not completely foreign to us to have the occasional bit of competition between us, but outright stealing from each other and sabotage is incredibly rare. But we'll have to see how it shakes out, I suppose. But the politics of gang warfare, I don't believe, concern any of you. And besides, Miss Alefikir, they already know we're here." And she approaches you and pats your sash where the camera is.
I don't want to. I immediately wanted to say that Lucian wanted to bat her hand away, but I don't. I don't know how wise that would be.
You see her eyes kind of glint as she makes eye contact with you, and she kind of leans in a bit, and you all you can't hear what she's saying, but you see her form shift to take on a very familiar, well bit, large and muscular blonde woman, the Sun Dragon Queen, as she leans into you, Lucian, and whispers for only you to hear, "Go on, I don't bite much."
Only as much as you want.
Lucian spitting out her coffee.
Yes. You can see her right now. This is great. Do more.
Begin
You-
with
you-
more.
You all
Do
see
more.
Lucian just like fumbling and sputtering from whatever.
She just completely blue screens.
She steps away and resumes her small hunched form and spins on her heel with a wide smile on her face.
Did we just get more lesbian action?
Yes.
A little bit.
And she looks to all of you with a smile before saying, "But this is where we part ways for now. But you're all very interesting people. I like all of you. So if you ever need a place to stay and are willing to forego your reputation," and she glances to you with a very sardonic look, Neon, and takes on Neon's form to say, "After all, staying in a love hotel overnight as a peacekeeper, oh, that could cost you your badge if the wrong person found out about it."
You're right.
You're right.
But don't worry, dears. I'm well capable of keeping secrets whenever the mood strikes me.
I'd sure hope so. This is
You
my second
probably-
day.
There is one thing I wanted to ask you.
He probably isn't the first peacekeeper that you've seen in your
Probably
place.
not.
Oh, absolutely not. But confidentiality, dear. And she glances to you, Neon, and gives you a wink and before taking on Lucian's form to look Lucian directly in the eye. "Yes."
Hate you.
This is
No, she kind of crosses her arms over her chest and she says, you obviously would know better than anybody here. What should we expect in this new territory?
She gives a wide smile at the first thing you say and says, "Very good. You're learning." And takes the hunched form again and says, I'm having a little too much fun. And she kind of like rubs her hands together as if like kind of working off excess energy. I like all of you. You're very entertaining. And gestures out ahead. Once you make it past the docks, you'll be out of the broker's territory into the territory of the Reapers. They're not dangerous, although they will try to convince you into making purchases that some of you, and she glances to Lucian and Raccoon very obviously, would be more prone to making than others. Do not let them convince you that their products come without drawbacks. But you're all adults, more or less, and I think I can trust you to
He says
minute.
that, but then looks at Caleb.
more or less, she said.
Wait a minute. Could you elaborate on that?
She gives a smile and glances to you, Neon. Officer, if you would.
If I would what?
So, Neon, you would know, having lived out in the sticks for a while. The thing she hasn't said directly that Lucian is asking for clarification is the Reapers are drug traffickers. They control.
Okay.
Oh no.
They
Oh,
control
no.
the
Hey,
drug
we
trade.
asked for
Lori
drugs
Edict.
yesterday, so
Okay, yeah. It's been a very long time since I've read the notes.
Oh
I had a
no.
job when I last learned
Oh
that.
no.
Yeah, so to give you the information you would know, and then you can choose what you want to tell the group and how you want to phrase it. The Reapers operate out in the essentially out in the uninhabited parts of Lower Edict to create their wares, which they then traffic into the city, usually through working with one of the other
Where
gangs.
drugs, Matthew?
And most of the stuff they carry is, let's call it unique, and is typically most attractive to people looking to get a biological advantage either over their augmented neighbors or simply like pursuing the usual highs and lows of a drug trip. So you know just as well as she does that it's generally not safe to purchase what they're selling unless you are really desperate.
At this
For the
moment,
layman.
Lucian is desperate for coffee.
For the layman, you seen the people with robotic arms and such?
I know somebody with a robotic accessory, yes.
I mean in the city.
Well, I don't know anybody here, but I know what you're talking about.
We have seen them, yes.
Thank you. Well, there are some who don't approve of such a way of living. We call them purists, but they call themselves plenty of other things. Well, these Reapers, they sell drugs and other ways of trying to get an edge up on over these robotically enhanced people that the purists would find appealing. Basically, don't trust them. They're gangs at the end of the day. They're criminals, all of them.
Criminals.
Fuck you. You can't do an Irish accent. It's hard.
Criminals,
You're actually
You're doing
doing
great.
fairly well, don't worry.
You're doing
Yeah.
great.
It's just the accent just made it funny. So
Nah, I get you.
Lucian kind of
Oh,
her
excuse you.
arms are
I
still
was some more
crossed, but they
Canadian than
tighten,
Irish.
and she looks to the queen. And what makes you think that it would be appealing to me? I don't know, like thieves or criminals.
She gives a smirk and like kind of rolls her neck. And like you can see her kind of fighting with herself before finally like almost giving into the urge to mess with you further and transforms back into you and like gets on her knees at your feet. May I please have some coffee? I can't go a single night without it.
I will suck your dick for coffee.
You know what? I'm gonna fucking kick her.
wow.
Try to stop the kick.
Fight.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Roll an attack, but I'll give you disadvantage since Gil's trying to stop you.
Okay.
And this will be an unarmed strike, so bear that in mind.
Yeah. Probably not very powerful.
It's so great. I can't allow her to hit her.
Can't allow it.
2.
What was the roll? Like if it had been straight, like I always like to flavor it. So
It was a natural 2.
it was also
Plus
like
7. So it's like 9.
Okay. So you go and the queen bee doesn't even react as Gil like pulls you back, so your kick goes like really wide, and the other you gives starts just rolling on the floor laughing, and finally stands up. You're all very fun. I like you all. And looks around before turning back into the hunched form. I need to stop doing that. I'm going to use up all of my aliases.
I'm gonna smack Gil. Let go of me.
I will let go.
She gives a smirk. Don't worry, Gil. I'm more than capable of protecting myself, although it is appreciated that you're such a gentleman. Anyway.
That was in character.
As Officer Neon has said, you'll just want to be careful. And she glances down to you, Zephyr, as she gives a smile. Make sure you watch what you say. These people tend to get high on their own supply and can be just as temperamental, if not more so, than the brokers, albeit in more unpredictable ways. And she gives a smile. But I'm afraid that's about all the help I can provide, unless you're interested in doing me a favor and playing the game. Although, and she steps forward with a grin and whispers to you, Lucian, you may not want to do that where people are listening.
Lucian steps back and stares her down.
The queen bee gives you a wink and before looking.
What kind of game are you talking about?
I don't play games. That's a lie. That's a flat lie. She totally plays games.
She looks at her nails and, without even looking at you, Gil, and just says, you've heard the phrase before, pulling some strings and manipulating people when you may not possess the resources to handle a war on multiple fronts. That's why even I have to be careful with what I say, knowing who's listening. And glances over all of you and says, but my offer does stand. You may not be as in my employ as you are to the brokers. I assure you, brothers, that these are your people first and foremost. But you may want to keep track of them. They're already becoming the talk of the underworld.
Who are they talking about?
So she's addressing the brokers directly via Lucian Sash, but she's basically implying that you guys have caught the attention of many of the gangs down here who are interested in competing with the brokers for lack of a better term, ownership over your adventuring talent.
It's like these people have never heard of an adventurer before.
Well, I mean, like how many have you seen down here?
You think they'd still have like a need for it?
Well, I mean, that ice
What's-
tunnel has been there for years and it hasn't been tended to. Just because a need is there doesn't mean it hasn't been. That doesn't mean that it's been filled already.
Mhm.
There's always.
Are these Reapers gifted as you?
Not in the same way. They don't possess my charisma, my natural talents, and she puts an arm under her chest, or my forgiving nature. But I don't want to be completely insulting. They are smart in ways that I'm not, in the same way that a street urchin and a scientist are intelligent in different ways. They know things about chemistry and science. They have to make their stock somehow. Some of them are relatively talented alchemists, and say what you will, but given what they sell, you have to imagine their charisma is decent to be able to make any sales at all. After all, they're marketing a product that kills you if you use it too much.
Unsurprising, but it's good, good to know.
She gives you a smile. That's the spirit. Does anyone else need anything from me? Because I really shouldn't linger too long before the brothers decide to pay me an unexpected visit.
I think we've gotten what we need.
Yes.
All right. Take care of yourselves, watch your footing, and make sure you come back in at least 1 or 2 pieces. And she gives one final before limping past all of you, whistling a bit of a tune to herself as she starts to head down the street, leaving you guys just outside of where the city transitions into the dockside areas. Caleb, you can immediately see the same attention-grabbing store where you had grabbed your snacks and drink before. And you guys are relatively alone. What would you like to do?
I like her.
Lucian, like, I don't know it, I think, yet. She's very
How is
It's not the
interesting.
worst.
She's very interesting.
Better than your brother.
I don't deny that.
I love the triplets.
I suggest that we take a move on.
Yeah, I wonder how long it's going to be before Officer Neon has to send someone to horny jail.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
Horny jail, you know.
Yeah, horny jail.
Jail for horny. You
Yeah.
know, horny jail.
Yeah, it's for whenever you're horny on me and you go to horny jail.
And the officers from the outside looking in. Maybe this is a bad idea.
All right.
Lucian's just gonna walk.
All right.
Crow's gonna look to Neon just like, this place is fun.
Well, I'm glad you think so. There's certainly never a dull moment around here.
To be
Go up
fair,
top.
you live here, so the things that are strange to us are just normal to you.
As Lucian
I'm-
walks, she's kind of muttering to herself. It's like
And,
angry muttering.
And what were you going to say, Neon?
I was going to say, I'm sure it would be the reverse for her in your position.
Maybe one day you'll get to see the surface more.
I've been on the surface for, I don't know, a combined total of 3 weeks, and I think I saw what I needed to.
Yeah, you didn't see all the good stuff then.
Maybe so.
All right. And with that,
Besides, you definitely need a good tan.
Wait,
So
did you say you
fair.
get a tan?
Ooh, his
I
fur?
couldn't,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I couldn't tan if I wanted to.
well, because it's
He's
fur.
furry.
If it doesn't get sunlight, it gets very pale.
That's not.
yeah,
Lucian-
Caro is probably the person most knowledgeable about animals here. Even you're just like,
Lucian looks like she's about to say something, and then it's just like, you know what? I'm too tired for this.
Yeah, I don't have the energy.
I was like, he actually starts laughing at that because he
I
knows
don't think that's how furry
he
things work.
knows it's not true, but he was waiting for a reaction from Lucian, and
I tried.
Right. This is like, yeah.
Already back to.
Back to square one for you, boy.
Like,
He's already screwed it up.
one step
not
forward
perfect.
and 2 steps back.
It's like the lady hasn't even left yet, and he's
Yeah, she
like
did.
already
She did leave.
screwed it up.
You left. We were off our way.
She's gone.
She just left. Like she's probably still in earshot.
Yeah,
Well,
she probably hears
he-
this
he-
story.
It's not perfect.
All right, so with that, you guys begin to head towards the docks, and this time, all of you see the slope of mud and rock that leads out towards the sticks of Edict, or of Lower Edict at any rate. And Neon, since you started your Peacekeeper training, you've not returned here, but you don't expect it'll be much different than when you left.
Oh, I got a quick question.
What's that?
As we pass the docks, do I see any old boats? I'm just curious.
Make a perception check. First, one of the first rolls of the night.
Bada bang, bada boom.
$16.
Looking around, you don't see any in the immediate area, although as you guys start heading past the docks, looking around, you can actually see it's pretty, it's like a fairly good distance from you, but you do see what appears to be something in the shape of a boat, although it's more made out of metal and seems to lack any form of sails, on its side with obviously no water to float in.
Why didn't you take the boat?
And you can't
What's
see
the
it.
boat gonna do for them? Why?
Well, remember, they found this place. It was just down here. From you can't see it super clearly, but you can see some construction equipment. So you imagine, given the lack of water, it's likely simply being torn apart for scrap.
Interesting.
But that's about all.
A while to tear that boat apart.
Well, hey, you don't see any other boats here, and there likely was quite a few when the city sank. So you guys head away from the docks, away from the just kind of ambient noise of the city, and for the first time since you arrived in Edict, unless you were in a completely like isolated environment, silence as you get further and further away from the ambient noise of the
Not
city.
even a drip from the
This
stalactite.
is so much better.
And
Wait,
indeed,
stalactites or stalagmites?
stalactites are the ceiling ones, I believe, and stalagmites are the bottom
Yes.
ones.
This is correct.
Not even water dripping off the stalactites.
Well, bear in mind, looking up, there's actually not stalactites, as the ceiling is actually taken up completely by the bottom of Lower Edict, so it's just smooth metal.
Still stinks.
What? But the city's below ground.
Yeah, you go down, and there's Upper Edict, and then below Upper Edict is Lower Edict, which is where you are.
I see now.
So
I can see clearly now. The rain is gone.
you guys,
What rain?
you guys continue across the waste, for lack of a better term, and eventually, it's a bit of a walk, but not incredibly long. You get to. Again, there's less ambient noise, although Caro, you and Garo are the first to notice it, but it quickly hits the rest of you as well. This like sudden like wave, and it gets stronger the further you walk, of like not the bad smells of like the pollution in Lower Edict, and more just this like really intense like it has that kind of perfume department vibe to it, of like it's not even an inherently terrible smell, it's just so much and so overpowering that like a few of you like feel the urge to just start coughing just from how overwhelming the scents
What
here.
is it?
I put my shirt over my nose.
And like I said, it doesn't even really have a distinct smell. Like I said, the best comparison I can make is something akin to a perfume department, where it's not even bad, it's just so overpowering that like it's just like really
God, it's like when I was gonna make
Patrick went through the perfume department.
No, that is true. But I was just gonna make a joke about it's like whenever the junior high boys discovered Axe.
Oh God! Don't even get me started.
It does kind of have that vibe to it, yeah. That's kind of, pardon my pun, that's kind of the air it carries. And
It's a
Okay,
fun one.
you
I
remember?
like this. Yeah, but Gil actually
You have
likes
horrific
it.
memories from those days.
Oh, hate it.
Yeah, so Caro, you're the first to notice it, but it does hit the rest of the group shortly.
Oh. No, I'm with you, Caro.
It's nice.
No, it's terrible.
I can't breathe. I'm going to suffocate.
Oh God. Put your shirt over your nose like me. It kind of helps.
Could Caleb pull the hood part of his cloak over his head?
Yeah, sure. So the bulk of you just start to like cover up your olfactories to at least like mute the like the smells slightly. And Neon, once you got, it's not much, but it's home. As you get deeper in and the smell starts to reach its apex, you all start to see that the lights you had been seeing were not actually from like buildings or homes in the traditional sense. You see basically piles of what appear to be discarded machine parts and bits of metal that have been refurbished into small, like sort of in between of a hut and a house. Like relatively, it kind of reminds you of the structure of Neon's mech, but way less like clean and prettied up. Like it's simple and functional and likely only has the bare necessities, but it's enough to live in relative comfort.
Bare necessities.
And from the exhaust of a lot of these machines, you can see like smoke rising. Although, it doesn't have that thickening that the pollution does, and it just carries more of that intense chemical smell. And
oh, good. Now we're getting blasted by chemical smell.
So you guys are just walking through this like encampment almost of like homes constructed out of discarded machines. In fact, one home you guys pass by, you can see is actually seems to be built from discarded security droids, like the torsos and arms, like hollowed to turn it into like building material.
Seems to be very different from the upper place.
That will happen.
You don't see anybody. Oh, go ahead, Lucy.
Oh, Lucy's just kind of like, I just want to get this mission over with, please.
Is that intense smell still around?
Yeah, it's at its apex now.
Ugh.
So it's like almost suffocating at this point.
Yeah, like you can literally taste the chemicals at this point.
So it's the chemicals causing it?
Yeah, basically, to put it in a very blunt way, like I said, that Axe body spray comparison was pretty accurate. But to put it bluntly, you are in the middle of basically a town that is one giant meth lab.
Oh.
Oh no.
Yeah,
You don't see anybody. You don't see anybody on the streets. You do see one elf sitting in a rocking chair outside what appears to be a bit of construction, like kind of almost like a construction truck, hollowed out. I mean, it's hard to tell with an elf. He seems to be a bit on the older side, and is just kind of rocking back and forth in a rocking chair, cradling what you recognize to be one of the laser rifles that were being sold. And they're kind of like half asleep, but you can see them kind of blearily staring at all of you as you pass, like their eyes half lidded and unfocused.
Let's keep watching.
Roll them up.
And as you guys reach to about the middle, like a kind of circle of these buildings and Neon, you just kind of start ushering them in the right direction where you know the tunnel to be. As nobody had gone down there that you know of, but you knew it was just basically stay away from it, as again, especially during certain parts of the year, it would get intensely cold from that tunnel. There, again, appears to be very minimal activity, although the smoke and lights definitely indicate that there are people here just staying in their houses. And as you reach about the middle part of this sort of mini town, you all begin to start to feel it. This kind of like, it kind of breaks up the monotony of that kind of sticky air to it. You feel this chill. It's not overpowering yet, but like you can already feel this kind of like slight coolness take in the air, whereas most of the air down here is relatively stagnant, if not polluted by some chemical agent or another. It now starts to take on that kind of smooth coldness the deeper you get into this.
Smog would be a problem in this city with it being underground and also all of it crap.
It is like I said. You guys actually noticed when you came in that you could barely see the ceiling of the cavern because of the pollution.
The air's so clean.
Yeah.
You've clearly not been in the right places.
Well, it's cold, but clean.
I have missed the cold.
I prefer not cold, but whatever it is needs to be done.
Yeah, let's get it done.
Lucian, being by far the most on edge and nervous of the party, jolt. Although all of you hear it, as you hear a of something falling, and look to see what appears to be the discarded arm of a security bot falling down one of the junk piles. And it just kind of sits at the bottom once it finally comes to a stop and just stays for a moment.
Yeah, Lucian
Before-
like jumped about 10 feet.
I want to pick it up.
Gil, as you step away from the group and start to approach it, an arm shoots out of the junk pile and grabs it, and digging themselves out of the junk pile, you see, dressed in this kind of tattered green outfit. It looks like it was at one point a military uniform, but has long since been faded and discolored by chemicals, hunch over the robot arm and look up at you. They appear to be wearing goggles, but one lens is completely broken to expose a set of like bright, like greenish yellow eyes. Definitely not a natural color. As they look up at you, and you can see several of their teeth are broken. Ah, I saw it first.
You can have it. You can have it, Gil.
I wasn't going to
Back up.
touch it. Okay.
And he rolls out of the junk pile to stand up, and you can see they are wearing a set of torn shorts but no shoes, as they kind of hop from side to side clutching this arm cannon. Where are you guys going?
Do they have a shirt?
Yes, although it is also very deeply discolored and stained.
It's about to be like no shoes, no shirt, no service.
Lucian just kind of. Lucian's like, I don't see how that is your concern.
Oh, hold on, you! And he points to you, Gil. What'd you say?
We're going to the ice cave?
Yeah, you shouldn't go there. It gets cold.
Well,
I mean,
What's
the
your
place
name,
is called an
dude?
ice cave, I'd imagine. A
What's
place
your
called an
name?
ice cave is probably not going to, be warm.
I can't see it, Gil, but Lucian is like glaring daggers at you.
Hold on. If you're really gonna go down there, you should probably have something to keep you warm.
I have enough to keep me warm, thank you.
Oh yeah, you got it. Look at him. Yeah, he's not even wearing a shirt.
That was his choice. If he wants to freeze, he can freeze.
I could have sworn I went shopping the
Oh no, you
the other
did.
day.
You have a shirt.
Oh yeah.
This guy's just an idiot.
What?
This guy is sleeping in garbage and is living in a giant meth lab.
I was thinking sure that I had it
Open
for
balls
golf.
right now, anyways.
We
I
all
love
look at
this
Gil and
fucking
is
trash, man.
Trash, man.
Yeah.
Now
like,
plug the
it is nice
backstory
to
of it.
meet you. I think it is time for us
I
to
didn't
go.
even question him saying Gil didn't have a shirt.
No, like Lucian's just like, that's
Gil
nice, that's
usually
nice.
does it.
Trying to usher everybody out. In a way.
Lucian, as you start gathering everybody up, he kind of steps forward. Well, hey, hold on. Yeah, you guys are gonna get real cold. I can make you warm. I promise.
No, it's all right. Thank you. Goodbye.
Well, what do you have to offer?
Zephyr.
Yeah. Come here, little guy. I've heard small stuff. I've heard small stuff gets
Yeah.
cold a lot faster. You're
Yeah.
gonna freeze the quickest.
Gil, can you get Zephyr, please?
I'm
Pick him
not
up.
touching that.
Yeah, they better not.
Pretty sure if you tried to pick up Zephyr, he'll probably claw at you like a cat.
Well, we'll just
That
get out.
happened last time.
What do you want, little dude? You want some Star Blast? I have some bloodshot. We got coffee. I got a little bit of coffee.
Oh,
I'm gonna go ahead and step in front of, use my mech to step in front of Gil and just be like, "We're not interested."
Sorry, officer. I'm not doing anything. I promise.
Right.
good
Move
and
along.
But if I was doing anything, do you want something? Your metal's
Move
gonna get
on.
cold, robot.
Lucian's
said
peeking
move
over the
on.
neck, and she's thinking to herself, "Coffee."
Yeah, like that's what I heard. I was like,
He finally
What
starts.
What is
Starblast,
Lucian's outfit?
she's heard two things that she's addicted to right now, so she's like,
Does Lucian have like a hood or something, or a cloak
No.
or something?
Not anymore. The Scar Concord took it away from her.
Oh, I thought you were trying to say that you're currently undressing.
No, I said I'm
No, I was
peeking
saying,
over you.
I was gonna ask. Basically,
No,
I'm
no,
asking,
no.
is there anything that you'd like Caleb can grab Lucian by?
You can probably grab her hand. She likes you.
I don't know. Sometimes she's a bit of a bitch.
I mean, it's your call, man.
Caleb's gonna try to hold
How
Lucian
cold will it
back.
get in the cave?
I've never been down there, but it gets pretty cold up here. We gotta make sure we gotta do what we gotta do to keep warm. And he kind of runs his hand over his arms, and you can actually see, and Kara, you especially kind of flinch a bit as you can see several visible holes running up his arms, small ones but visible, almost like a small pockmarked rash as he kind of rubs his arms.
He's on heroin.
He's on just a lot.
Ian,
What's up?
so does he have his supplies out there where we could all see it?
You haven't seen any of what he's offering you. He literally dug himself out of the trash to start harassing you.
I like to imagine he just this guy just waits in the trash pile for anyone to walk by.
I'm the trash man.
Hunter, as Caleb takes Lucy in, she just kind of looks at him like, but he said that he had coffee.
You don't need it.
But I do.
Yeah, you see? Yeah, the lady needs coffee, officer. Coffee's not illegal, is it?
Is it?
You don't need it.
I'm going to wind back one of the front legs of my mech as if I'm getting ready to punt him.
Okay. But I'm serious about the arm. I saw it first.
The arm is yours.
He kind of like glares at all of you and just kind of, you'll come back.
Gnawing on the arm.
He kind of like kicks at the dirt a little bit. I'll come back. And he kind of like sits back on the pile of trash. And he initially just kind of curls to protect the arm. And you can see his eyes kind of droop almost like he's about to fall asleep right where he is. And he just almost like starts to, just from his weight, starts to kind of sink into the trash pile and then starts to kind of like nestle so that he kind of burrows himself into it. But you can still see his eyes kind of peering out.
Chinchillas into the trash.
Yeah, basically,
pile.
yeah. He kind of chinchilla so that his weight will just bury him into the bits of metal and machine parts.
So with these guys, if we keep getting harassed by them, are we allowed to chunk them?
Are you allowed to chunk them?
See how far we can throw them over the trash heaps?
That use physical violence.
I will
much.
I will not say anything other than I may not be looking at the time, so I might not see it happen. And if I don't see it, then it maybe didn't happen.
that corrupt.
Maybe just once or twice.
That corrupt cop policy.
Lucian kind of hears that and looks to Officer Neon. Are all peacekeepers morally ambiguous?
It was a joke.
She kind of blinks.
Caleb is just like, I'm sure our audience of benefactors is getting a kick out of this right now. Looking for Lucy to ask the camera.
I'm sure.
Just imagining back at their freaking place, they're just laughing at us.
You know Red is.
Oh yeah.
I say we.
He's probably got freaking popcorn.
I say we continue on You'll need to stay in this
Let's just
cold
continue
weather.
on our mission.
For once, I am with you,
Distracted.
Zephyr.
All right. With that, you guys begin to proceed. This time, staying a bit away from the piles of garbage that these people rifle through, and as you start to get closer, ironically, despite it getting colder and colder the deeper in you go, you actually start to see more people. Although they seem to be more just like either grabbing food or supplies rather than it being necessarily like busy in the traditional sense of a city. And every so often someone passing you, like at one point, Lucian, you're kind of approached by a very skinny elvish woman who doesn't have the same like visible pox to her, but she's like constantly kind of scratching at her neck, and her hair is very unnaturally short for an adult elf as she approaches you. Do you have anything you could spare, dear?
Change! You have any change?
I am going to go into my pack, and I'm going to give her my flask of holy water. Here, you can have a drink of water.
She kind of like squints and like rolls her eyes before pushing it back to you, and continues walking and kind of looking around, like seeming very like kind of confused and lost. And you hear another kind of sliding of metal from one of the nearby junk piles as you see a surprisingly healthy-looking male elf slide down on what appears to be just a simple metal sheet to get down the pile quicker. It says, "Any of you interested in some bloodshot? I have plenty of stock I can provide." You there with the crossbow, I bet you could use a bit. You're going into dangerous territory. You'll need your accuracy to be at its finest.
My accuracy is fine.
But it could be better than fine, dear.
How many
No,
other
my
people
accuracy is
Doesn't this
best.
place not have anything better to do other than try to sell crap to anyone who shows up?
We were literally
Possible.
warned about this, Caleb.
how many people are around?
Visibly around you, counting the woman and this sleazy elf dealer, you can see about 6 or 7 people in total, the bulk of whom are observing you in some way or another, although whether that's out of interest if you're selling or interest in selling to you, it's hard to tell without them approaching you.
So, I want to grab the elf.
Hey, hands off the merchandise, buddy. I'm just trying to run a business.
Yes, we're not interested.
You know what he sounds like, Matthew?
What's that?
He sounds like that guy from Borderlands.
I haven't played a lot of Borderlands, so I wouldn't know.
You play Borderlands with us a lot.
Well, yeah, like, but I never make it, like, at most I make it halfway through, and I definitely don't know the characters super well.
We should play Borderlands again.
You were saying, Gil, real quick?
But yeah, I'm gonna say, yeah, we're not interested. Thank you. I'm gonna throw it back up towards the heap.
All right, but you'll come back. And you see him kind of glance to you, Zephyr, and you see his eyes visibly dart to your belt where you have your hand crossbow. What about you? You interested?
That I'm not throwing far enough.
Yeah, because the junk pile wasn't super far away, so like, but as you kind of look back to him, he kind of puts his hands up. All right, I'll wait for them to come to me.
Better. And I'm gonna look around at the other ones that are just watching. Anyone else?
You see them all kind of glance to each other, and there's like a moment of quiet. Make an intimidation check.
While he does that, question: do you, Hunter? Are you like literally like dragging Lucian by the hand, or what are you doing?
He was just holding her back at that one time, so
Okay.
he's not continually doing it.
Not go for coffee.
There's a 25.
Okay. everyone kind of hesitates for a second before resuming their business. You can see people visibly like smoking from what appears to have the vague shape of a pipe, but definitely not any material you're familiar with. You can see someone lying on their porch just staring up at the ceiling, completely motionless, but definitely alive. You can see from their kind of rhythmic breathing, and several people with visible like vials and syringes in their hands kind of like step back to kind of just watch you from the shadows.
Now, we have a job to do, don't we, Lucian? Everyone else?
Let's go.
Lucian crosses her arms over her chest and just sulks.
When we get back, I will buy you all the coffee you can drink.
That sounds like a lot.
If we let her have all the coffee, it could have bad effect.
I just want one cup. That's all I want. That's all I want.
I don't think.
That's how it starts. Right? Isn't that how it starts? Looking to, what's his name? Neon.
Yeah.
He's right. In fact, I've half a mind to handcuff you to Morrigan.
Which I do have, by the way.
No, you drink.
I thought I drank it all.
Yep.
Yeah, you
You
took your
can't even remember what you had.
She kind of shrugs. Like Gil said, we have a job to do. Let's go.
Yeah, deflecting now that you're cornered. All right, you guys continue
Wait,
down.
did you disagree with Gil?
Apparently,
Wow, she's desperate.
She's desperate.
all right.
She even
What did
agreed
she do?
with Zephyr.
She basically like was like, oh well, we have a job to do, so we should do that. Basically, turned attention away from the fact that she was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Neon continuing to try.
Yeah, recently I've been agreeing with Zephyr.
Yep.
It's a day for new stuff. And you guys continue down, and eventually the bulk of this little shanty town thins out a bit, and you find yourself looking across another expanse of just nothing. However, what is down here does surprise you. You see this like long stretch of initially what it is like you're not sure, but as you kind of look, you see that it's plant matter, albeit deeply dead. And in the distance, you can see another building that appears to have the lights on, although the lights are very flickering and dim. But the gates are low enough for you to simply kind of hop over, not particularly a difficult path. And the wood is very rotted and like Gil, as you start to kind of hop over the fence and your feet kind of crunching on the dead plants at your feet, so the wood actually cracks and breaks beneath your weight. Like you get the impression a stiff breeze, if there were those down here, would probably destroy this place.
Oh, because I just walked through the fence.
So you guys watch as Gil essentially creates an entrance for all of you. The place seems completely abandoned and unsecured, so you all enter relatively comfortably. But as you all walk, the plants crunching beneath your feet, you can actually see closer to the farmhouse there is stretches of living plants, although plants you're not familiar with, and it seems to be a lot of fungi, obviously.
They should have mushrooms down here.
And Lucian, as you kind of take a cautious inhale, keeping yourself calm after the intense day you're having already, and you haven't even gotten to the job yet, you smell a familiar smell. It's very warm and gives you that sense of like brisk energy, and reminds you a lot of the breakfast you had.
I kind of sniff the air.
Raccoon kind of tugs at your leg and looks up at you. You smell it too, yeah? They're making coffee here.
It smells really good.
You don't need it.
You don't know what I need.
I'm
I'm
curious.
fairly certain you don't need this.
With all the mushrooms,
Well,
are
the mushrooms are kind of in the
any-
distance. You can just see them.
Oh,
Okay, so you said that there's like a house?
Yeah, there's basically like what appears to have once been a barn with like flickering light visible from it, and closer to it there's alive plants, especially mushrooms. But everything between you and there is dead plant matter.
Does it seem like the smell is coming from there?
Make a nature check.
this will be interesting.
Oops, sorry. 15.
It's a bit hard to tell, but air doesn't like move a lot. Like again, you're underground, so the air tends to be very stagnant. As far as you can tell, it certainly seems like it, and you certainly feel that would be a more logical guess, if nothing else, than the dead plants smelling like coffee.
Yeah, that's absurd. I kind of look between the house and where we're supposed to go. I kind of like look back and forth. Guys, that coffee smells really good.
Hey, Neon. Are those plants up there? Are some of those coffee plants?
How does he know what a
Wait,
coffee plant is?
wait.
Well, it comes from somewhere.
There's plants for like coffee?
Come from beans.
That is really interesting.
I'm sure it is.
But are they?
I don't know.
Well, you know what it would look like.
I don't know what it looks like. I don't make it.
Wonder.
Maybe Lucian kind of looks at everybody, and she seems to be like marginally backing up a little bit and eyeing the barn.
No, Lucian. I told you I will buy you all the coffee you can drink once we get done.
Her head snaps to Gil. How many times do I have to tell you that you are not my father?
You don't have to be your father. I'm your teammate. We have a job to do.
Could I at least have the coffee that Raccoon has?
Can we just go? Can we just go? Caleb's just gonna start trying to push them.
I can't push Lucian. Go.
I want a dead weight.
Caleb, especially given the height difference, Lucian basically collapses on top of you. And Raccoon kind of like looking around, finally just like basically flops to dead weight on top of Lucian. And kind of whines up at all you.
Need to make a strength check to not eat shit.
Normally it would be, but since this is more casual, I figure it's not that big of a deal. But you can wriggle out from under them fairly easily. It's not like Lucian's holding you down.
Yeah.
Caleb just like gasp as they fall on top of him.
Right.
And Raccoon looks up at all of you and just whines, "We should at least see what they have. Maybe it's really good coffee."
Maybe it's really
Probably
good
filled
coffee.
with drugs.
Okay, so here's what's gonna happen. I'm gonna shoot Lucian.
Oh no! Don't start something you can't finish, brother.
Make an attack roll. You have disadvantage because she's prone.
Wait, no, hold on a second.
Right.
I was gonna say,
What?
Yeah.
wouldn't prone give him advantage?
No,
No, prone gives you
prone.
advantage on melee, disadvantage on ranged.
Yeah, it does.
Ah.
Yes. While on the ground, it's hard to hit, hard to shoot. Okay, so disadvantage. Okay, well, I don't think I need to roll the second one. I got a nat 1.
He
You,
misses and hits Caleb instead.
uh, uh, Caro, you see Zephyr like raising his crossbow, and if you want to, you can just like basically put a hand to just stop him.
Does she?
Do I feel like that was intended for me?
I'll say since he rolled the nat 1 and you're on the ground complaining about your caffeine addiction, I'm gonna say no.
You didn't miss and hit Caleb instead.
No, Caro just was given the opportunity to stop him. Which Caro, do you?
Yeah, I'll stop them.
Like,
I'm just gonna pick
no.
Raccoon and Lucian up and say,
No,
okay,
no,
off to work we go.
no.
We
Make
don't
a
need to
strength
fight
check.
right
I
now.
kick his butt. I kick anything that I can kick.
So Gil, as you start lifting up Lucy, and she's just flailing, and Raccoon's like complaining and scratching at you, but all of your attentions are caught by a rustle in the distance, and you see stepping free from the plant matter. You can't make out clearly at this distance. You can see it's a humanoid figure, but you can't make out like what they look like or what their clothes they're wearing. However, as they start stepping towards your direction, walking with a very awkward kind of like, they definitely seem to have a visible limp as they start walking towards you, and you can see in their two hands what look to be steaming cups of something.
Put me down, Gil, right now.
How much for the coffee?
As this figure steps into view and stops as you make your offer, Gil, all of you are able to see them. Neon, you know who this is. You all see before you. You can't see their ears, but you can definitely just gather from context that they're an elf, humanoid, and like. But you see they're wearing what appears to be a very ragged and patchwork full body suit. But Neon, you would know this as a hazmat suit. But again, it's very ragged and patchwork, and you can tell that it's way too big on them. And the visor is lifted at the moment to reveal a very skinny and unhealthy looking elvish man with pockmarked skin, who gives a wide smile and holds the steaming cups out to all of you, and speaks in a very kind of gravelly, unsettling voice.
Heisenberg?
I was told by the boys that some of you were very thirsty, and you should be hydrated before going into the tunnels.
I have water, thank you, though.
Oh, wow.
Gil, I mean all of you, but Gil especially, all look to Lucian in shock. And even the elf kind of tilts their head. And even then the elf kind of tilts their head to the side and looks to Raccoon. What about you, young lady? And Raccoon kind of looks around and looks at Lucian before shaking their head. I'm good also.
Is the coffee clean?
Are you asking that out of character, or are you asking him like in character?
I'm asking him.
Yeah.
Gil,
He gives a smile and says, "Rest assured, all of my stock is very clean.
Gil,
Not tampered
please.
with.
Let's
Not
just go,
tampered
please.
with."
Gil, please, let's just go, please. Like, if you look at her, she's like her eyes are like tearing up, and she looks like she wants that coffee, but she's trying really hard. Please, let's just go.
Okay.
Well, feel free to visit should you have need of my wares. And you see the elf turn their attention to you, Neon, and they give a slight smile. Returning to us already, officer.
It's more of a sightseeing trip.
Well, it's good to have you back.
It's all right to be back, at least.
I'll see you all around. Make sure you stay warm.
Thanks for your concern.
Don't see that being possible, but yeah.
The man looks to you, Zephyr, and gives a slow nod. We'll see how it turns out. And he takes a long sip of one of the coffee cups before swallowing very audibly and slowly limping back towards.
I am the one who knocks.
Limping back towards what you presume to be his laboratory. Neon, you know this to be the leader of the Reapers.
Oh, is that where?
Is that where?
Is that where we end tonight's session?
Well, let's find out.
I was gonna say,
Neon, could I ask you a very personal question?
You may.
These people, I know this has been very hard for me today, but I've noticed something about these people. They look very sickly. Is this because of the and she kind of does air quotes wares that they are offering us?
In most cases, yeah.
She kind of nods and takes a deep breath.
Others are simply starving.
I'll try to stay away. It's really, really hard, but I don't want to become like them.
You do well.
why don't y'all just kill them all? They can't do it.
That's okay. The
That's
strategy.
a
Neon?
very you thing to say, Gil.
Yeah. Neon just like gives him this look of just like, fucking excuse me, what?
It's a legit question.
Gil, what the fuck is wrong with you?
That's a very good question. What the fuck is wrong with you, Gil?
If they're making all these horrible things that does this to people, why do you allow it?
It's not that simple. Some people only do it because it's the only option they have to keep themselves and their families from starving. It's more complicated than that.
Why don't y'all give them something else to do?
It's not that
Addiction-
easy.
Addiction is very...
Are you speaking from experience?
Perhaps.
We'll speak no more on the subject.
Thank you.
Either way, job. Let's go.
Alright then.
With that
We've
sobering,
wasted so much time.
pardon my pun, conversation, you all make your way back across the fields. Gil kind of smashing your way through another deadwood fence.
Gil, smash!
And find yourselves at what appears to simply be a rock wall, the edge of this cavern that the city of Edict inhabits. However, it's not hard. Only a little ways to your right, you see a tunnel, and as you get closer to it, it's a relatively small tunnel. Gil and Lucian will likely have to kind of stoop to get through it comfortably, if not like full-on crawl. But as you all approach it, it is definitely the source of the cold, as all of you immediately, again, it's not full-on freezing yet, but it's that very brisk like autumn chill, and you can actually feel,
So like what we've been getting lately.
and you can actually feel the wind coming from it, which is like a sensation you have not felt since you went underground. Like, you don't exactly get wind this far underground, so it's this very like not unwelcome, because again, it's more of a brisk chill than it is full on freezing. But Neon, you know how bad it can sometimes get. So as you all surround the tunnel, this very low coming from it, and all of you kind of already like kind of rubbing at your arms at just this kind of brief chill, and you know it's probably only going to get colder. You all look to each other. Are you prepared to enter?
Oh, I got a quick question.
What's that?
With my flame-tongued longsword, does it produce heat?
Let me double check.
I don't think
Let
it
me double check.
specifies.
Well, yeah, I just want to make sure it doesn't before making any kind of ruling on the matter.
It's because it has fire, you would think it would do heat.
Well, yeah. It does
Oh, but
produce
it's
light.
magic, remember?
Yeah, if it does produce light. Specify. Because it causes flames to erupt. So.
I'll say it does produce heat, but not enough to like basically like as a kind of a blanket mechanical statement, just so you can have an idea. I'm gonna say it's not gonna be enough to stop you from freezing to death, but it will make the trip more comfortable.
So I will look at Lucy and say, is it okay if I light my sword so we can have a little bit of extra heat while we're walking?
I really would rather you not. Look, I'm already on edge. I'm trying very hard not to run over there and get some coffee right now. But right now, that is the last thing I need.
Okay. And he'll pull out a torch instead.
Okay. Gil, you light the torch. Do you want to lead the way into the tunnel?
I will.
Okay. Gil, as I said, as especially the tallest of the group, you basically have to crawl, but you are able to hold the torch.
Does everybody have to like
Do I have
crouch
to
or
crawl?
something?
I don't want to crawl.
So yeah, basically, Gil has to full on go. Like he's pretty tall and a pretty wide figure, so he has to crawl. Lucian, you have to stoop, but you can still walk. The rest of you are small enough to actually be able to walk relatively comfortably.
Hey,
Even-
Caleb being small helps.
Even in the mech boy.
Yeah, well, so Neon, if I recall,
Yeah,
with
he's
your
not in his
ability
mech.
set, with your ability set, you don't need to have it like actually physically travel with you at all times, correct?
Teleport.
It's preferable to, since it's kind of a large part of my class, but it's like, you know, I don't have to have it.
Well, is it not until a later level you get the ability to basically hammer space it?
Okay. No, I can hammer
Talk
space
about-
it.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
You hammer space it at one point. I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's why I figured it'd be fine.
Okay.
Also,
Misunderstood.
I am curious, how tall is Lucian?
She's like 5, like a little bit over 5 feet, like 5'4", 5'5".
Caleb, so about Caleb's height.
Yeah.
So Caleb probably also has to bend over a bit.
Okay. So
Caleb's height at 5'4".
So, as all of you, with varying degrees of comfortable, with Gil's torchlight, providing some degree of warmth and a healthy degree of light, start to make your way through. And as you enter, the sides of the tunnel are very rough, bearing the very visible signs of like people have been going through here and like gathering like minerals and ores, and you can already see like the support pillars that held this mine up. Although its small size it seems to be basically a utilitarian mindset of like either the bulk of the digging was not done by people, given that like the elves especially are like having to like crouch or outright crawl, but regardless, you guys are able to start working your way through. And as you enter, the wind chill all around you now, cooling all of you. Caro already unhappy as the air deeply cools. You all begin to enter, Neon hammer spacing your mech to follow behind as you leave Reaper territory and enter the ice caves of Edict. Welcome, the Black Ink and Blue Blood party, to the first dungeon of the campaign, and that is
where we end the night session.
I hope you know every time you bring it up, I extend the session a little bit.
Bring it up more.
Oh, then I should keep bringing it up, right?
Yeah, so then I cannot do it to catch you off guard.
That way you'll keep extending it and extending it and extending it and extending it.
We'll go till 5 o'clock. You know.
Yeah. So I should just keep mentioning it toward whenever we get close to 12:30.
I mean, I could also just not provide convenient places to end, always end on inconvenient cliffhangers or mid-combat. I could also do that.
I would like to say, and that's where we're going to end tonight's session.
Yeah, exactly. All right,
You've
so...
done that before, though.
Well, only when we absolutely have to. But as you guys crawl into the ice caves, that's where we're going to end tonight. Everyone have a good time?
Yeah.
And something I've been trying to get into the habit of, my Friday group does this, so I want to start trying to make a habit of it here if everyone can handle going. It's not going to be like crazy long, just like a side note. This is both my opportunity to dish out inspiration for those who don't currently have it. But again, as per the norm, if you have it already, it does not stack, but the compliment still applies. For some just good moments I liked from today's session, that was a legitimately powerful moment, Lucian, basically actually intaking the sorry state of these people and using that to fight through your addiction a little bit. It was a very sobering moment.
Thank you.
Neon, you played through the little sprinklings of your backstory very well. That was very engaging.
Thank you.
And
what the fuck?
Zephyr and Gil, your interactions with the Queen Bee were a lot of fun for me and a very engaging and interesting. But again, as per the norm, everyone did great. If anyone else has any side notes or complimentary things, again, something my Friday group has started doing is just saying really nice stuff to each other and end the session on a high note, basically, even if things got tense.
I enjoyed eating the one person. That was fun.
With the queen?
Oh no, eating. You know, the person that was trying to sell stuff to you all.
Oh, yeet.
Yeah.
Yeeting.
But yes, but also meeting the queen. That was awesome.
I, Amanda, liked her and enjoyed her very much. Lucian, not so much.
Eating.
Well, I didn't get that chance, and I don't think he would have taken that chance.
And Caro, you were a little quiet, but I hope you had fun.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks everybody at home so much for watching. Thank all of you so much for playing.
And thank you for DMing.
And we will see.
DM than I probably would be.
Well, I mean, it's just a matter of practice and knowing what people like. But we will see you all next week.
Bye.
Bye.